So now I get married, I have some kids, and it's like I want to give back. I think I want to do this fire thing again, and I want to prove to my boys that at any point, if you put your mind to something, you can do it. So at 30 years old, I went back to fire school, got my 240 card, got my EMT card, and then started working for a fire department in Lincoln County, and have been doing it since the last almost 8 years.
You are now tuning in to the Roughnecks Podcast with your host, Cole Nixon. Much love.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Roughnecks Podcast. We are back after a short delay of episodes due to me getting back in the gym and not being able to time manage. But we're back with an episode. Quick thing before we get into today's episode, me and Dante so me and Dante will be recording Q&A Friday here soon. We want questions from you. These questions can be about anything and everything. Doesn't matter. Just send them over to roughneckspodcast@gmail.com or message us on social media, and we will get them in for the Q&A Friday. But joining me today is a weird kind of way that I met you, and then also not met you again, but we found out we had mutual friends. Right. Didn't even know it. Yep. But Trent, welcome to the Roughnecks Podcast.
Alrighty. Well, first off, Cole, appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Talked about this a while ago.
Yeah, actually, I think it was like the second time I ever met you over at Clayton's, maybe even the first. I don't even remember, but it was a long time ago that we originally spoke.
And then the fair.
Yeah.
It's like I'm sitting there talking to Steve, and
this
guy walks up. I'm like, man, who's this guy?
Because I just walked in Steve's camper, too.
Yeah, I'm like, I know him from somewhere. And then your brother has a little shindig, go over, and sure as crap, it was you.
Yeah.
So
it's weird how that works. Steve was actually the last guest episode, too, so you're following up Steve on the guest episode.
Big shoes to fill. Big shoes. Well, like you said, name's Trent Shepard. Lincoln County guy, born and raised here, still live here. So my career, I work in the natural gas industry. Been in it for a hot minute. Got in it shortly after high school in 2006. Did it for a short stint. Thought maybe I wanted to go to school. Went to school. That obviously didn't work out at the time. Had some odd jobs for a couple years. Ended up getting back into the pipeline industry. Worked that for a couple years. And then got on at the Energy Cooperative in 2011. Started out there as a laborer. And then did that job for 2 years. Moved up to a service tech. Was a service tech not quite 2 years. And then a pipeliner inspector opened up. Jumped on that job. Pretty cool thing about that is your job as a pipeline inspector is you go out and hike. You hike high-pressure transmission gas lines, and you go out and look for leaks cross-country. So got to do a lot of hiking. 90% of it is all cross-country. You find a leak, you call a crew, they come out, we dig it up, we fix it. Did that for 8 years, and then recently, the last 3 years, I am now what you call an M&R specialist or an M&R mechanic. That entitles what I do now is you have transmission lines and you have distribution lines. So in the gas industry, and same with electric, you buy off a transmission. I work on these things called reg stations, not to be confused with substations, because some people get that confused. Substation's electric. Reg stations is gas. And what I do is I cut that natural gas from high pressure to medium pressure, and then that's what they consider distribution, like what feeds your house.
Okay.
So work on that kind of stuff, rebuild regs, SCADA systems, and pretty much in a nutshell, that's it. Like I was talking to you upstairs, love the outdoors, love hunting. Good thing about that pipeline job, the inspector job, was that's what got me into hiking and outdoors and backpacking and, camping. And matter of fact, I camped this last weekend.
Really?
Yeah. So
when it was 4 inches of snow outside?
4 inches of snow. 7 degrees?
Yeah.
Like a crazy guy. I've got one of the big wall tents, threw it up, threw a wood burner in it and camped out. So.
I've always wanted to do one of those. I've never actually done it with the ones with the wood burner inside of it. I've seen them, and I'm like, those would be so cool to like just to have, and like, cause I'd use it.
Yeah,
definitely. And like, I don't know if you may or may not, like, if you ever gone on a hunting trip and used it.
Yeah, yes and no.
Okay.
So, and kind of more of an army tent was what we used.
Okay.
And we also had a trailer, but that's what led me to wanting to get this because I'm trying to plan some hunting trips out west.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and then outside of that, married. I got 3 boys. So, and it's crazy. Yeah.
One of the lucky ones. You didn't get 3 girls.
I know. Well, I tried. It didn't work, but we're done. Ain't no more trying.
Yeah, that's how. I mean, my oldest sisters, they had 3 girls, and then finally got a boy on the 4th one, and they're like, all right, we're done.
Yeah.
The 4th one was the last try. And
lucky
then,
them.
Yeah. Just like Steve. If Steve would have had another girl, I'd have been like, oh, you're screwed.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
He's got that boy.
Oh, yeah. I was just babysitting him the other day.
Oh, yeah? Oh, good.
Yeah, she had to work, so he had him in a shop while he was doing some things. He had a phone call and just walked out of my office and left him in there, and I was like, you did that on purpose.
It doesn't surprise me.
But he ended up taking a 45-minute nap on me and everything. But it was great because I'm sitting there in my office chair, and Steve walked in. He's like, "What do you just stay there?
Yeah.
Yep, you're good."
Yeah. Say, hey, you're paying me for this. FYI, this isn't free babysitting.
Well, I was getting paid no matter what.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
So it worked out. But I kind of wanted to go back a little bit. You know, you talked about. I like to talk about this on the podcast.
Yeah.
With the school thing. You know, everybody. You say, you know, you thought you wanted to go to school.
Yeah.
Didn't work out.
Right.
I like that a lot because I think a lot of people get into this mindset of you have to go to college, which is starting to go away a little bit, especially because good and bad because of social media.
Yeah.
But everybody thinks you have to go to school in order to get a big time job or get, you know, a job that you can be successful at.
So there's one thing, and I think you asked this question a lot, and I don't want to jump ahead, so hopefully I don't step on my toes.
It's
but, you know, if I could go back, there's not a lot of things I would change.
Yeah.
But the one thing I would probably change, and this alludes to a lot of things, I think, was it Jake? Was he on a couple?
Which Jake?
The guy with cigars and
Jake Sanders, yes. Okay.
This leads with the whole friends thing, yada, yada, yada. Knowing what I know now, because I'm the kind of guy that I'm going to try it one time. If I can't fix it, if I screwed up bad enough, I'll at least have somebody come, then they can try to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try it. You know, my furnace broke a couple years ago, completely tore it apart, rebuilt the whole thing. And it's like, okay, so there's things I can do. And I enjoy working. You know, we remodeled our whole house, did it all, you know. So leading back to that, if I could go back, I would have went to JVS, I think it's C-Tech now.
Okay, yeah.
I would have took building trades for 2 years, probably would have graduated, went and got my HVAC certification, and then God only knows what I've been doing.
Yeah.
But definitely wish I would have went and did building trades for 2 years. Didn't. Hung out in high school.
Yeah.
Had a lot of buddies. You know, played sports.
That's, I feel like, what always holds people back from C-Tech.
Yeah.
Is the sport, especially if you play sports, and with the, you know, the fact that all my friends are at high school. Why do I want to go there? Like,
yeah.
But you don't realize how much it could propel your future. Just that 2 years.
Yeah, and because of that, you know, not knowing these things, you know what they always say, hindsight 2020, right? So the pipeline company I worked for, before getting on at the co-op, as crazy as this is going to sound, I didn't know what retirement was. I really didn't know what it meant. I don't want to say, you know, my parents are still working, you know, so they haven't retired yet.
Same.
My grandparents never really retired, it seemed like. They were always kind of doing something. But that job there, essentially, you know, you worked until you died.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. I think they're in a better place now. So when I got on at the co-op, you know, I was fortunate enough I got on around 25 years old. Well, there was a handful of guys retiring. I'm like, man, what's this retiring thing? You know, I really need to look into this, you know, because I've never thought about it. It's like, wow, you know, man, can you know, imagine retiring at 60 years old and going and living your life. And so I guess, you know, what I'm leaning to on like some of this because you probably have a lot of younger listeners, maybe not.
The average range, I think, is usually from like, our highest category is like 24 to 28, that range.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
So one thing I recommend and I am not a know-it-all. I'm still,
That's what I always try to tell people too. Like the people I bring on, especially when they admit that, I love it because it's like we don't know everything.
No.
And this may not work for everybody, but it's something that I wish maybe I'd have tried.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
So what I can say to these younger listeners is go start some sort of retirement. Mm-hmm. If it's $25 a pay, go to like an Edwards Jones, a Merrill Lynch, just anything, and start a Roth or a 401k. Doesn't matter if you're working at Jim Bob's mulch place or this or that, or do something, because you don't realize it until you get some years in you. It's like, man, I got nothing. Like Social Security, that they say they don't know if it's going to be there. Now, with that being said, my dad is a little older, and he's like, son, they said that when I was your age, there was going to be no Social Security. So I'm not holding out for that, but definitely try to do something. Like I said, if it's $25 a pay, you'll be surprised at how fast that will start to actually build up.
That's where, like, I don't have anything for sure set up, like, a Roth or any of that stuff, but I finally one day, like, looked at it and was like, I'm not saving any money. Like, I don't have a retirement where I work or anything like that. So I'm like, I'm not saving any money aside just to save. Yeah. So finally I was like, even if, like, because people were like, oh, I can't afford to. And it's like, you can't afford a $5, $10, $15. Like, you don't have to put $500 in it, a paycheck. Like, you can put as much money as you want. Yeah. So now I just set up an automatic transfer to a savings account right now. And I've been looking into, Roth IRAs and all that kind of stuff.
I think a lot of people, and I'm the same way because I never looked into it till getting on the co-op. I think a lot of people either didn't know or that you can go to an Edward Jones and start one. It doesn't matter. You can start accounts for your kids. Yeah. If you have kids, you can go there and say, hey, I want this to be their college fund. And when they turn 18, they can have it, or they can choose to keep putting into it, So there's a lot into it that, people just got to do their research.
Well, I feel like it's partially goes back to schooling. Like, I don't feel like we ever learned anything like that in high school, and like, I know we for sure didn't. Like, instead we had typing class, which I think typing class is beneficial, or gym class, which I guess so there's benefits to all of it, but it's like that gym class may not help me in my future. It might maybe help me, stay fit, whatever. But I think financially, you're better off having a financial class that I think, like, either like your sophomore year or senior year, you should be required to take.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to wait until college. To take any of that.
Which I didn't even in college. I was a business marketing major, so like I had some business, financial type classes. Right. But it's all like corporate finance, like you're doing bookkeeping and that kind of stuff, and it's like, I want a finance class that helps me, like helps the everyday person, not just helps you savings and that kind of stuff. Like I feel like that'd be something so beneficial for kids today. Mm-hmm. But you just don't see it as much.
No, unfortunately not.
But oh golly, I'm just throwing my mics over here.
Oh my gosh.
But I also wanted to talk about going off the schooling thing. Because I think a lot of people, I like how you said this, because I think a lot of people think, one, I go to college, I get a degree, I'm coming out making the big bucks. Yeah. I don't have to work my way up in a company. Yeah. I like that you talked about, 2 years I was doing this and then this opened up. 2 years I was doing this, 8 years. Like, it was a slow process. You don't just start at making $100,000 a year. That's not how it works.
It doesn't.
If it does, you're doing something right.
And that leads to a bunch of stuff. And, my wife, for example, bless her heart, I feel like, I've got some years on you, but we grew up in a weird time. My age group.
How much older are you than me? I'm 25.
I'll be 38.
Okay.
So I got a couple years on you. Not until later this summer, so, 37 right now. We'll just stick with that. So, but we grew up in a weird time. Like, you see these people with these big houses and all this land, and it's like, dude, I want that. Why can't I get that at this point? Mm-hmm. Everything's so expensive, and I don't care what anybody says. My wife and I, we've had our ups and downs, and every marriage does. Mm-hmm. And if they say they don't,
they're lying.
They're lying.
It's probably worse than they're willing to admit.
Oh yeah, and I told my wife, I was like, I'm gonna talk about this. She's like, whatever. So, a like I said, we've got 3 boys. Couple years, we got married. We was living in an apartment in Hebron. I did what was the man thing. Oh, we got married. She got pregnant. It's like, I got to buy a house. That's what we need to do. Found a house. Was supposed to only be a couple years. Of course, it just turned into 11 years. One winter. Yeah, exactly.
It's what might happen here.
Well,
if the housing market doesn't come down, there ain't no way. With we both have student loans out the ass. So.
I get it. So, we go outside and she's mad at the world, which I don't help that sometimes, and neither does the boys. And she's like, this wasn't the life that I expected. She's like, I thought I would be living a different life. I said, well, what do you want, honey? I said, because we have to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, well, I always thought I'd have like a little farm and this and that. And I'm at fault. I'm always telling her, like, you just got to trust me. You just got to trust me. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. And she's like, okay, whatever. It's the same story. I said, I promised you. I said, give me a couple more years, and it's going to happen. And sure as crap, almost to a year ago to this day, we bought land.
Mm-hmm.
So we finally was able to get to that point. So like you were saying before, you don't just make $100,000 tomorrow. You have to. It takes time.
Yeah.
And you got to realize that. And I've always been a person. I did not push myself in high school. Anybody who knew me, class clown, dicked around, did what I had to do to get by, matured, realized, like, hey, you dumbass, you should have probably done things a little different. I'm trying to think where I was going with that. So I was always pushing to find something, because when I was working these side jobs, like, I want my own business. So I had a couple businesses. I owned a dumpster business at one point, and it was fairly successful. Problem is, I didn't have the balls to jump on it full time.
Yeah.
It got to a point that we were running it 7 days a week, but it wasn't enough to quit my full-time job to take it over because I had a family, I'd be giving up insurance, guaranteed money, you know what I mean, and end up selling it and made some money. So it worked out. But what I'm getting at is, at some point, you have to tell yourself, like, you got to accept a little bit of what's going on,
mm-hmm.
And when you accept some of that, like, this is what I've got and this is what it is, and let's make what we have great. You will have a weight lifted off your shoulders like you never believed. Now, I'm not saying don't give up on dreams, but at some point, because I'd be up at all night long, like, man, what can I do? I got a family. I need to make all the money I can make. I got to do this. I got to do that. And one day I was like, you know what, dude? Just accept what you got.
Mm-hmm.
And once that happened, things lifted. Things started working out. And things are going good. I mean, like I said, we bought our property. We're moving. We're doing things over there. So it's just accept some things, keep your dreams, keep working, and it will happen. Like you said, it doesn't happen overnight. And unfortunately, in this day of age, with the way things cost and the inflation,
and everybody wants instantaneous gratification.
Yeah,
they want it right now.
It doesn't happen.
I wish it did. I mean, everybody wishes it did, but then again, would we just be spoiled little brats if it all just came instantaneous?
For sure.
I mean, that's one thing. I remember my high school coach telling me, or not telling me, like telling our team. People, especially in high school, everybody complains about playing time in sports, and he said in like the beginning team meeting, keep working, stay patient, your time will come.
Yeah.
And I was like, now that I'm looking at that, honestly, as you're explaining it, that's what like popped into my head, because I was like, wow, that wasn't just about football. That wasn't just about classroom. That wasn't just about, that's about life.
Yeah.
Like, if you just keep working, it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
If you just sit there and be like, play the pity party of like, man, I really want this to happen. This should be happening. Yeah. It most likely won't happen. But if you work for it, and it's so much more rewarding when you work for it and then you get it. Like when you work your tail off, for 11 years, you work your tail off to get to that point.
Yeah.
It's now you're probably like when you probably got that land, it was probably had to be like the biggest, almost, I don't want to say relief, but like reward and gratification of like, you feel good about yourself, really.
Oh yeah, I mean, and then it was like, man, I can't believe we just did this. Now we're broke again, and you know,
and it's the never-ending cycle.
And here we go again with you complaining about this. But yeah, it worked out. Yeah, pretty cool deal.
But let's go into some Street Warriors. So you're part of Street Warriors. What is Street Warriors? Let's just go with it.
So, little fun fact: outside of the co-op, I am also a part-time firefighter.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Okay, so this leads back to the school wasn't my thing at the time, right? So, good buddy of mine is the founder of Street Warriors, called Street Warriors Outdoors. And he was a cop for 10 years. And maybe you can have him on sometime and he can kind of explain all this. But so he was a police officer for 10 years for Columbus. And he was in the heat of like the COVID stuff. You know, they're trying to tear down the
statues.
Yeah, or all that crazy stuff. And he's like, here I am guarding, you know, whatever, around Columbus. Yeah. Getting bricks thrown at me. And I can't do anything. He's like, I've got a wife and kids, and he's like, I'm done, you know. So, and he could probably explain that a little better. So he left the police and started, he started a construction company, and then he's like, I still want to do something. So he came up with Street Warriors Outdoors, and what we do is we're an organization that takes kids out of people, or of if their parents was police, military, fire, whatever, some kind of force of some sort, and if their parent has passed away, been killed, work-ending injury, and we take them out and do events with them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, the police officer in Kirkersville, the chief, that so we took that family out.
Allison.
Yeah, well, some of them.
I think she has younger siblings too. I went to school with one of his daughters.
Okay.
At least I don't know what all the kids, but I did go to school with one of her.
Yeah. So
maybe he wasn't the cop. Maybe I'm thinking it like maybe she was. Wasn't there some?
Well, she has
nurses.
A handful of kids.
There was some nurses.
Yeah, that was a whole
well.
bad deal. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Maybe it was one of the nurses. It may not have been the police officer.
So we do stuff, like I said, we're still in contact, and we're still doing stuff with that family. One of the first, we call them candidates or kids we took out, his dad was a Columbus police officer, got cancer, passed away. We took him paintballing.
Okay.
That's what he wanted to do. So, all right, we're going to go paintballing. And actually the place that they did the paintball at, they gave him a paintball gun. That's with cool. His dad's badge number etched into it and stuff like that. So it's rewarding. It's cool. So kind of leading back to the whole fire thing, I live in a township. Mm-hmm. So I'm not in a city or a village. So, here's that, I got to be doing something. So I thought to myself, I was like, what can I do to give back to the community? And I thought, so when I went to school, I went to Hawking College to do the fire in EMS. It didn't work out. Screwed around. And so that didn't happen. So now I get married. I have some kids. And it's like, I want to give back. I think I want to do this fire thing again. And I want to prove to my boys that at any point, if you put your mind to something, you can do it. So at 30 years old, I went back to fire school, got my 240 card, got my EMT card, and then started working for a fire department in Licking County, and have been doing it since the last almost 8 years. So,
damn,
yeah.
Is that how you kind of heard of Street Warriors?
So no, so with Street Warriors, actually, Derek, the guy that runs it, his son played baseball, not with my son, but in the same league.
Okay.
But he was friends with a guy named Eric, which is also a board member. So it's a nonprofit organization, so we have board members. I'm one of the board members. So we have Derek, who was a police officer, another guy named Ben, which is a police officer still, Eric, who was in the Air Force, and then myself.
Okay.
So that's how Eric and I became buddies. Derek and Eric were already buddies, and then we got to hanging out that way.
Okay.
And then he had started it and asked for all of us to be a part of it. And we go on these like archery shoot things, and that's kind of how it all came about.
Yes, it's really cool because, like, have you ever heard of American Hero Hunt?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, so I've had them on the podcast and stuff, and it reminds me of that, but I like that it's like a different take to it because, like, American Hero Hunt takes like the actual veterans and first responders. Yeah. You guys take the kids in a time that, or like, who have gone through something that we can't explain. Yeah. Like, we can't, you can't even sit there and 9 times out of 10, we can't sit there and say we know what this kid's feeling.
Yeah.
And it's really cool too to see other companies and organizations like, with the paintball gun, like just to do that. Like, that's not something they had to do. Yeah. Just for them to be able to do that is definitely like gotta be, and I'm not saying rewarding as in like that's why you do it, but it's just, it's got to make you feel a little warm and fuzzy almost.
Yeah, because, my thing is, some of these kids, they don't know, right? They know something bad happened, depending on the age range. Yeah. And it's like they're depressed. They're, they don't want to do this. They don't want to come out of their room. They don't understand. They don't understand. So it's like my side of it is, let's get these kids out and say, hey, it sucks right now. I get it. But it does get better. Mm-hmm. I promise. And, so it's just kind of get them out and make them go do something. And I think it's working. We've taken some other kids out. We took a young gentleman last year shooting down in Hawking, archery, and he had a blast. He said that, his dad was teaching him before he had passed. Mm-hmm. He was a Columbus fireman, got cancer, passed away. So, that rekindled that passion for him, got back into it, went shooting with us. It's archery, hike, shoot, and, he was very thankful. So, like, it's rewarding. And to the whole fire thing, the one crappy thing about the fire stuff is a lot of times you don't get to see the people again. Mm-hmm. You run on them, you take care of them, that's it. Yep. Every now and then you will, and it is neat. Like, you run into some. I was at Kroger's. A lady came up and just gave me a hug. I'm like, you don't remember all of them. And she's like, you guys saved my life. I was having a heart attack. You guys came, took me to the hospital. Yeah,
those are definitely the ways you want to see them again. If you're seeing them again on another call, it's like, all right, this isn't good.
Yeah, so it's all, take everything with a grain of salt. It's good, bad. But definitely the Street Warriors is a great thing. It's only been going on for a couple years. We're really trying to kick it off, more and more. But, again, we all work full-time jobs. Mm-hmm. So, but I think it's really going to start taking off this year. We're going, lots being put into it. Yeah. And it is hard too. It's a double-edged sword because 90% of the time, something unfortunate has happened for us to be involved. Well, when something happens, you don't just want to call the next day and say, hey, we're Street Warriors. Sorry what happened, but we'd love to take your kids out. Yeah. And so, we're still working on that side of it, trying to figure out, when is the
appropriate time.
And I've kind of said, maybe we can give it some time, send a card or call and say, hey, we're this organization. We know you got a lot going on. In due time, we'd love to come talk to you and your family and your kids and do some stuff with them. And, it's all going to work out. It's a good thing.
It is. That would definitely be like a tough way to like, because like you said, you can't just like call them the next day.
No.
Like, I'd be pissed, honestly. Mm-hmm. Like, so it's, it'd be one of those that it's tough to like, when is the right time? Like, but you also don't want to wait too long because it almost then maybe feels like the wrong time. I don't know. So that's definitely a tough thing to navigate.
Be truthful. We've kind of ran into that. We've taken out another couple, and they were super appreciative. We took them camping. They loved it. She just said, it'd been nice if it had just been a little sooner because it has been over a year since her husband's passed. But, as cliche as it sounds, we have to find people to get things starting. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's not like, it's not worldwide. We're just Central Ohio. So until it gets that big, and maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Hopefully it does. Yeah. It's kind of hard to just pick and choose around Central Ohio. I mean, it's there, but it's, it's not like every day something's happening.
Exactly. Yeah. At least we hope not.
Exactly. Yeah. We don't want that.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
That's almost a good thing, but I don't even want to say bad thing because it always sounds bad. But like, and it's tough too because like I know, American Hero Hunts talked about it with like they get applicants and they have to go through a vet, and
Yeah.
then also like they can only pick one, and it's
Yeah.
like that'd be
That'd be tough.
It's tough to have to be able to like not be able to help everybody.
Yeah.
And for sure it's similar. Like you guys can't help everybody,
No.
but trying to help as many as you can is definitely a great thing to do.
And we're not to say like we're going to turn down, if some
Yeah,
veteran
exactly.
comes along and says, "Hey, I'd be great if you take my son." Okay, yeah, definitely. It doesn't have to be, Derek's thing was not knocking, anything. There is organizations for veterans.
There's a
and
ton
other stuff.
Like I hate to say it, but I don't
Yeah.
say this in a bad way, but there's
No.
a ton of them.
No,
I mean,
and
I've
it's,
had 2 different ones on the podcast.
right, and it's all great because
Yeah.
I respect all that. But his thing was, let's do something for the kids because there's not a lot for the kids in that scenario.
Yeah.
So
The sign just turned off randomly.
might be
But-
that ghost you was talking about.
Oh, I swear, we can get into that, but and he did it again the other day, and it freaks me out. There was kind of I'll just go into it real quick, but
Yeah.
there was one day, me and Sierra were laying in bed. Brooks got out of bed, went to these stairs, like crawled out of bed real slow,
Right.
hair up on his back, went to the stairs, stared down the stairs, started barking and going crazy, and like backing up in the hallway and like peeking around, and I'm like. And
Yeah.
Sierra looked at me and was like, "Did you lock the doors?" And I was like, "I think so."
Yeah, you go check because if
Well-
we get by you, then that's an
Well,
issue.
Here's my other problem. She's like, "Are you gonna get up?" And I was like, "My gun's in the other room, and I have to run across the hallway to go get it." So I'm like, "Ah, crap!" So like I ended up getting up, flipping the light on, and I came down here. We came down. I checked all the doors; they were all locked.
Yeah.
Came downstairs. He was sniffing around like crazy everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
And then all of a sudden he was just like, fine. And I'm like, what just happened? And I have no idea. It was just like a freaky thing because like we paused the TV. We're listening, didn't hear anything. And then the other day, Sierra came down here and was like, I swear the ghost is back because he was just staring in a corner, barking like crazy.
Oh my gosh.
And like backing up and like growling. And I'm like, I don't know.
Maybe he's asleep. Maybe the dog's a sleepwalker.
It could be. It's possible. Never know.
Yeah.
But you got some dogs of your own too. You got
Yeah.
We were talking about it upstairs. You
yeah.
got one from Texas.
Yeah. So I like to hunt.
What all do you hunt?
So I do a lot. So deer in Ohio.
Uh-huh.
Always grew up deer hunting in Ohio, and then wanted to expand that. And but again, it's one of the things. Didn't really have the money, and it's expensive to hunt out of state.
Oh yeah.
But in the same sense, it's like live your life.
Mm-hmm.
Save money, but
Make
don't save
memories.
it all. Exactly. So we'll get to the dog thing. We'll start with the first hunting because
Yeah.
I've got some interesting stories, and I promise they do all end well. But so the first out-of-state hunting trip, I went to Maine.
Okay.
I went black bear hunting, and mid-20s. No, I was it was probably about 10 years ago. So late 20s, 27. Never been to Maine, never been bear hunting, never been in bear country. You know what I mean? We have them in Ohio, but I've never seen them.
There's only been like one bear in Ohio, like or in Heath that I've known of
Right.
in our area for like the
Exactly.
past my whole life.
So go to Maine, go hunting. So the first time, so up there by myself, went with some buddies. So we went out and we had a guide, and what they do up there is like where we were hunting. They take you out, and then they get you in your stand, and then they leave. So you're by yourself once they leave. Tough guy me. So we go, get in the stand, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm not going to be that puss that's the first one in and out of the group. I'm sitting here until I can't see my hand no more. So I'm in the tree, and then it kind of dawns on you like, damn, I'm hunting bear.
Mhm.
There's bear poop around me. Like, this is real. This isn't, so... One crazy thing about Maine is it's very dense evergreens,
Mm-hmm.
super thick up there. So when you're in the woods and it gets dark, it can still be a little daylight on the outside, but it's like midnight in there. So the first night, so what they do is they will drive you in as close as they can get you to the stand. They'll drop you off, you'll go, you'll get in. I'm sitting there, not coming in, can't see my hand, time to go. But I had to walk out a ways, like a quarter mile. In the dark. So I climbed down by myself. I think the the one stand I was in was just shy of 7 miles off the road.
Okay.
So I'm walking out. It's an old logging road. Actually, let me backtrack a little bit. So here I am in the stands, and all of a sudden, it sounds like there is something crashing through the woods. Now, there's a lot of logging companies up there, so I was like, it's either one of two things. It's either a bear, a moose, or some logger got drunk and he's out joyriding in a pickup truck. You know what I mean? Because it sounded gnarly. So, short,
Is it still light at this time, or is this when it's dark?
It was still light at this time. So nothing happens that night. No bear comes out. So anyways, I climb down and I'm walking out. I'm a little nervous. You know what I mean? Like I said, I've never been in bear country. I'm by myself. And then you text the guy when you get out. So I'm walking and I'm probably halfway to where the pickup point is. And I'll be damned if, and it's like an old logging road. So you're not even the width of a pickup truck. A freaking squirrel jumps out of a bush right beside me. And, dude, I'm here to tell you, I about, blew this thing away. You thought it was going to be World War III in that bad boy. But luckily, I held my ground, and we was okay. And then, long story short, it all worked out. I ended up actually getting a black bear by the end of the week. So it was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What other hunting have you done?
All right, so outside of that, I go to Texas.
I've always wanted to do a hunt in Texas.
Dude.
My roommate...
Sweet.
My best, Teddy, who I started with, he lives in Texas. He actually
Okay.
just moved back to Texas, and I need an excuse to go see him, so that might be one.
Link up. So I go wild boar hunting down there.
Okay.
And the first year I went, we actually hunted wild boar in Javelina. And these all have crazy first night stories. The first year we hunted in Texas, we hunted in just outside of Laredo.
Okay.
So that's almost the southern tip of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to tell you the distance from Licking County, Ohio to the Texarkana border, which is right outside of Arkansas and Texas, is the same amount of time it took us from Texas to Laredo, which is crazy.
Yeah. And what's crazy, too, is here in Ohio, we can drive to Indianapolis from here in 3 hours.
Yeah.
We can drive also to somewhere in Pennsylvania in 6 hours.
Exactly.
We can get places real quick.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, it only takes you 3 hours to get to another state. And people say that in
Yeah.
Texas, and it's like, yeah.
Dude, it takes me 3 hours to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
But so we get down there. We were hunting at this place called Callahan Ranch. The guy owned 273,000 acres.
Jeez.
Yeah, so from the moment we pulled in the front gate to where we were hunting, took us 47 minutes.
Wow.
We leased a 10,000 acre spot, set up our own camp. Now this is free for all. We were 8 miles off the Mexican border. Had border patrol constantly driving by, crazy stuff. And the crazy thing about down there is, sorry for anybody that's from Laredo, Texas that listens to this, why we fought for that, I have no idea, because that is some of the crappiest terrain I've ever been in. I mean, mesquite, thorns, cactus, nastiest stuff. And everything down there wants to poke you, kill you, stab you, eat you, whatever.
Yeah.
So the first night we go out, and we took four-wheelers and all kinds of stuff, set up our base camp. Here I go again. I ain't going to be the first guy back. I can't. I'm always the youngest guy in these groups, so it's like I'm not, and some of these old dogs, they'll be out for hours.
I'm the same way when I hunt with my dad. I'm waiting until I see him go in before I get out.
Exactly. And the thing about hog hunting is typically you do it at night anyways.
Yeah.
The only crappy thing and I don't want to say crappy thing, it was I know why they did it at Callahan Ranch. You couldn't gun hunt at night down there. You could only bow hunt because they have cattle running around. So you'd be sleeping, and here comes a cow walking by. So I'm sitting there, and it's getting dark, and I had parked my four-wheeler, I would say probably 500 yards away. And, of course, not going in until I can't see my hand. And this was just the first night, so I didn't want to get too crazy on the first night. So I just start to get up, and I hear a... I'm like, what the hell? So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, maybe I didn't hear that. 5 minutes goes by, I hear another. I'm like, oh, shit. Dude, they're on me. The Mexicans are coming across, you know what I mean? So I'm like, well, that's crazy. The four-wheeler is 400 yards. I can run, but there's cactus, if I got to get out of here. Now I hear another one off in the distance, a whistle. So I'm like, oh, great. Now they're communicating, whistling. Do I whistle? Like, hey, brother. Sorry. So long story short, it's some kind of Mexican bird that whistles like a human.
No
And this whole time
kidding?
I'm like hunkered down, thinking like I'm about to get overtaken. And so it.
That would freak me out. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd be like, all right, nope, somebody can see me that I can't see.
Exactly. So it worked out. And, that first night we ended up actually catching a 6-foot rattlesnake.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, that was wild. Dude, the guys I went with, they're all crazy. And we drove down.
How far of a drive was it?
It was like 36 hours.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, straight.
Oof.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the guys I rode with, keep in mind, they're older, never turned the radio on one time.
Oh.
Yeah, crazy.
You got
But
people, oh man, that'd be tough.
loved it. But the one group of guys that we went with, they brought I shouldn't even be telling this stuff because if they ever hear it, but he wanted to bring his uncle, but he had early signs of dementia. So he's going crazy every now and then, and there's a funny story about him at the end. But so the second, later in that week, I ended up getting a javelina, which is a gnarly little animal. They look like pigs. They're not. They're actually rodents.
Really?
Yeah, you have to Google
I'll look it
javelina
up right
sometime. Meanest little suckers because they can't see. So they'd have to be able to fight because they literally can't see more than 3 foot in front of them. So they get pretty crazy. And like I said, keep in mind, we're nowhere near each other because we're on 10,000 acres. Our camp's together, but we're all hunting different areas. And I ended up shooting a hog. I think it was the third night, hiding in a cactus bush with a bow. 20 yards, group of them come in, shoot one. They're fighting, going crazy, and it's Barry, one of the guys who was with us, he's like, hey, text me when you get one, I'll come help you. Well, everybody, it's to put in perspective, it's like a 5-6 minute 4-wheeler ride to the next closest guy. So if crap did hit the fan, you're going to be there by yourself for a minute. So that was pretty cool. That was an experience, hiding by yourself, shooting. Could be a rattlesnake up behind me, but, it all worked out, and it was a great time. But so one thing about that ranch is it's all dirt roads, right? And there was a storm that was getting ready to roll in. And one of the workers stopped, which it's all, people from, Mexico and stuff that work there. And he stopped. And we knew he said, we got to pack up. That was more than clear because once it rains, it will turn into mud so deep that you're stuck. Wherever you're at, you're stuck. So we had to pack everything up. So now we have to sleep outside. Outside. I mean, we had tents, but now we have to sleep outside, which was really cool because we slept under the Texas stars. Coyotes.
Just hoping a rattlesnake didn't
Well,
crawl up in there with you.
So, old boy, that was kind of out there. There was one building, block building, and he was sleeping against it, and I had a flashlight, and another guy with me, Terry, and we shined the flashlight over to check on him. Dude, this whole wall is covered in scorpions, and we're like, hey, we told him, we said, you might want to sleep up. He said, nah. He's like, I got it, boys. And he just slept there with all them scorpions that whole night. But it was cool, just sleeping out. How many people say they slept outside underneath the Texas stars?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe Teddy has. I'm sure he has.
Probably.
But,
He's nuts. Most people in Texas kind of are, though, so it makes sense.
No, you got to be down there. It's a little It's a little different world. So.
My introduction to Teddy was I was a freshman and he was a sophomore. And it was one of the first parties that I went to. And he comes up to me, grabs me by the shirt, and he's hammered.
Right.
And goes, you're going to break a beer bottle on my head. And
Copy
I was
that.
like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Yeah.
you're going to break a beer bottle on my head. And I was like, okay. We went out in the parking lot. The weirdest thing, he was drinking Miller High Life, which is what my parents drink, and it's the only people that I've ever seen drink Miller High Life are my parents. And I was like, you really drink this? And he's like, yeah, I love this. And I'm like, oh my God.
Fair enough.
You'll get along with my family just fine. Sure enough, he does.
Oh, that's awesome.
I smashed the beer bottle. I hit it off his head, and I swung it hard.
Yeah.
And it bonked and didn't break. Even hit the ground, didn't break. And he was like, why didn't it break? I was like, I don't know. And he's like, do it again. And I'm like, no, Teddy, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done. And that was my introduction to Teddy.
That's awesome. It's like a Crown Royal bottle. They don't break.
Yeah. You can drop those things from the rooftop and they'll still be fine.
It's crazy.
But, so you've got a hog.
Yeah.
You've got a bear.
Yeah. I got a bear. Last couple years, we've gone to Texas hog hunting. And,
okay. How does that, is it almost like coyote hunting here? Is it like similar type of thing? Or do they have seasons for it?
No, down there it's all open.
Yeah, because they're like a nuisance.
Yes,
around there,
so technically, and keep in mind, I've never what they call high fence hunting is where you've heard of that, where like you're legit like going to a place that keeps them in a fence.
Yeah, they can't get.
I've never done that.
Okay.
So yeah, typically you hunt them at night. You have a light, and then you just kind of wait until they come out. Now that was Laredo, which Laredo was cool. The downside of Laredo was just such a far drive.
Mm-hmm.
There is other places to hog hunt, but we like Texas, so we found another place called Mount Pleasant. The next year we went there, and that guy was okay. He had a lot of hogs. It was all open farmland. And the weird thing about hogs is they will tear the crap out of a lot of stuff, but if it's like good food plots, they will not tear them up. And I don't. You would think they'd be in there rutting that all up, but they don't. So, like hay fields, they leave alone. It's weird. Not all of them, but majority. So he had a cool setup. Guy had a lot of hogs. It was a good setup, and there you could gun hunt. So built me a pretty nice gun for that. You know, you have a light and you hunt at night. And that first year down there, you know, you have your camp, which he had his own. I don't want to call it a lodge because it was a pole barn, but you know, you stayed there, and then you would jump on your four-wheelers, and then you would go to your hunting spots. There, you could only hunt at night. That was the other cool thing about Laredo is there's just so much freedom. Like, if you wanted to get up early in the morning and hunt, you could. If you wanted to wait until the afternoon, you could. There, you could only hunt at night. So all day long, it's just kind of like, man, you could shoot. You could BS, but it it's a long day.
Yeah.
So we go, and let's lead back just one little quick thing, and I know I don't want to drag it out too long.
No, you're good. I like it.
But Terry, good dude. He's like a brother to me. In Laredo, he tied the hog on the front of the four-wheeler for me just because I think I was gathering something. I don't remember why. Cruising along, damn thing falls off. I run it over. I'm like, God damn it, Terry. Throw it back on. Get back. So here we are in Mount Pleasant, Texas, hunting. Really successful first night. This might have been like the third or fourth night in. I'm hunting in let's call it a valley, a ravine, and pretty nasty storms rolling in. We didn't know it was coming, and the crazy thing is that same storm that came through us was when Georgia got a bunch of tornadoes. Okay. So we were essentially caught in a tornado. And so here I am in this little tree line hunting hogs, and it's getting dark, cloud dark, not dark, like storm rolling in. And big group of hogs come out. As soon as I shoot one, lightning hits, and it's like it starts pouring down rain. I don't know if it's I don't know what kind of sign it was, but it was something. Well, I'm in this ravine, and like literally within minutes, Cole, water's coming over this ravine like somebody opened up the floodgates.
Jeez.
So because of the storm, it's got these hogs all screwed up, and they're running around. Now, down there at this point in time, I also carried a 357 on me, the old Hogginator. But so here again, my foiler is like 500 yards away, and I'm like,
maybe you need to start parking it closer.
True. But so now I got to get across this field to get the foiler, but there's still like 15 hogs running around because they're pissed off now. Their buddy just got struck by lightning. But so here I am, like running across this thing like John Wayne, gun in hand, just waiting to just pop off rounds if they start charging at me. So I get the foiler, I get over there, I throw the hog on, and now at this point, the water is above my ankle in this ravine. And I get the hog loaded on. I'm going across the field. I shouldn't be making myself look like a jackass. I go up this hill, and I reach back to come to find out the hog is gone. So I'm like, gosh, dang it. So turn around, go back down the ravine. Now it's like really high. It's to the floorboard of the four-wheeler. I'm like looking around. Here he comes. He's floating across the water. Pick him up, throw him on. And it was kind of to a point that's like, I'm heading out of this woods, and there's one last like little hut that I hunted in the night before. And it's, hail's starting to come down, heavy wind, extreme. I'm drenched. And it's like, do I just bail off in this building and hope for the best, or do I try to get back? There was one other guy somewhat close in that ravine, Barry, and I called him. I said, hey, you might want to get out because it's getting bad. He's like, yeah. He's like, I think I am. And he ended up actually having to like float his foiler out a ways to where he could get on land. So I get to the top to the road, and now it's like really bad. Trees are snapping off. I'm way out there. Hail, wind, lightning, rain. And I get to this first crossing, and there's this house, and the water's to the door. And, like, a log comes across, and I'm like, well, if I start on the left side, I'll end up on the right side if I go across, and I did. And now it's getting really bad, and it got to a point that it was like, I'm calling my wife. That's how, like, bad it was. And I pretty much called her to say, hey, I love you. Tell the boys I love them. I'll call you in a little while. Hung up. Didn't really allude to what was going on. Got through all that. Finally got back. So, long story short, from the lodge to the camp, or to where I was hunting, usually would take you 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes on the foiler. Took me an hour and 47 minutes to get back.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, so it was a bad storm. And all the guys, like, it was, it was bad. It was crazy. So, there's another crazy story, right? So I promised the third hunting trip worked out a lot better.
I was going to say, have you had a normal one yet?
Sort of. So the next time I go to Texas, I bring my wife. She wanted to do it. So I was like, all right, yeah, I think it'd be sweet. How many girls can say they went hog hunting?
Yeah, exactly.
Probably a lot, but to us not, because of where we're at, right?
Especially how many husbands have a wife that's like, I want to go.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see that.
There's good and bad in that. But
Well, yeah, I get that. It's
Love you,
like,
babe.
wait a
But,
second. This is supposed to be my time.
Yeah. So, but she's always with the kids, bless her heart.
Yeah.
I brought her. Well, of course, we're in the stand, and the old gut starts hurting. And I'm like, we're sitting there. We're not in a stand. We're like in a blind. And I was like, babe, and this is her first time ever going, so you got to keep in mind, and, I don't want to sound like a whatever, but there are some noises down there in Texas in the woods, and maybe Teddy will tell you about this, you've never heard in your life. There's bobcats, there's cougar, there's, coons, there's armadillos, which they ain't going to hurt you. But, and when it gets dark, there's things you hear that you never thought you'd hear, wild boar. So I'm like, babe, I'm like, this isn't good. Something's going on in the old gut. And she said, if you get out of this stand and go crab, I'm going to shoot you. I said, well, and keep in mind, she's a very good shot because I lost a gun to her that way. But, so I was like, I look like I just ran a 5K. I'm sweating that bad. So I was like, Lindsay, I got to go. Jump out. I run in the woods, completely forget where I'm at because, snakes, this and that. Lean over a tree, let her rip. We've all done it.
Yep. I did it this year.
Yeah. So luckily, just came back with one ball after the rattlesnake bit me. But no, worked out. Pretty much like army crawled back to the blind, and she ended up getting a boar. But no life death experiences in that one. So that's kind of the thing about the hunting trip. So down there, leading to the old puppy. We were down in Mount Pleasant, and I don't want to throw anybody on the bus, but ranchers down there look at things a little different, right? So
they're a lot more, I want to say old school.
Yeah, to them, animal is a tool or a profit or a business, right? So when something is affecting their business, it's an issue, right? So the place we were hunting at
sorry to interrupt you, is that why? Because a lot of these are like ranches, aren't they? Kind of, one, they're making money off of it, but two, they're trying to get rid of the hogs.
Yeah.
So
control them.
Yeah, control them maybe is a better word.
Yeah, control them.
Which that's probably part of the reason too. Like they look at it as it's an issue, and you get rid of some of them.
Yeah, which you get a lot of grief from some people. Got a little bit of grief when I harvested my bear. But what a lot of people don't understand is, they call bears boars as well. The older males will kill the cubs.
Have you seen some of these videos lately?
Oh yeah,
of people like going up to elk, moose, buffalo, like and then like people are like, oh my god, and it's like, yeah, that's what these animals, like their mentality is. You don't understand that they're not. They're wild animals. It drives me nuts when people are like,
crazy.
It's so cute, and it's like, yeah, it'll eat you.
Yeah, it will kill you.
That bear can fit your head in its mouth and crush it.
Exactly. So you have to control certain things, or it would just be crazy. So we're out, and we come across this dog. Of course, it's an issue to the rancher because it could be chasing hogs, which that hurts his business. It could be, whatever that he thinks it's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was going to get rid of it, and I said, nah. I was like, we'll let's just let us have it. We'll throw him in a pen. We found a pen down there, and I was like, we'll bring him back. So we ended up bringing old Oak. His name's Oak because the place, we named him kind of after the area. And we brought him back from Texas. There's another, how many people bring a dog back from Texas hunting, hog hunting? But the poor guy, he was rough. I mean, his nails were almost completely gone from running for weeks. He was beat up, cut up. He definitely got in a fight with some hogs.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been a sweet dog. He's got, a little something going on upstairs, but
he's been through some stuff.
yeah, he might have a little something, if you know what I'm saying. But so that's kind of and then like I said, I'm trying to plan some trips out west.
What are you trying to hunt out there?
Mule deer, elk. There's some guys I know, they go out. I'm gonna try to. Not link up. I picked their brains. That's kind of the next goal is get out there. And
Cam Haynes.
Sounds familiar.
He's from Oregon, but he's an ultra marathon runner.
Yeah, he's got podcasts.
Yeah, it's called Keep Hammering.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a big elk hunter, and a lot of people give him a lot of crap nowadays because they say he's a trophy hunter and this and that, and it's like. He's also been doing this for years before he was popular. Like he's able to kill these big bulls because of the fact that he's been doing this since he was like 19 and he's like 40 now. Like, he's learned a few things over the years, and he public land hunts.
It's kind of that age group thing, and maybe that's worded wrong. I think there is some misconceptions in hunting.
There is.
Until somebody does it. And now myself, I'm not a trophy hunter. As crazy as that sounds, because it's like, well, you went bear hunting, you went hog hunting, you did this and you did that.
But here's the thing that drives me nuts, and pretty much every hunter that you talk to will feel the exact same way. The gratification of harvesting an animal, like you do have a little bit of sense of, I just did take this animal's life.
Yeah.
But you also feel it's not like, holy crap, I did it, which it is, but at the same time, it's like you're very thankful for the opportunity to be able to harvest this animal.
Right.
Like, because, I mean, deer and all that stuff, it's not like we just shoot it and leave it be.
Yeah.
We're eating it.
We eat everything we take.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything we take comes back, we eat it.
Which I've heard bear meat is some of the best.
Depending on where it's at.
Really?
So if you are in an area that there's not a landfill, you're golden.
That makes sense.
If you take a bear that's close to a landfill, it will taste like trash. They actually said black bears in Alaska eat so many blueberries that their meat almost has like a blue tint to it.
Really?
Which would probably be really good.
That probably would. I
but
bet that'd be good on a smoker.
But yeah, so misconception with hunting that people don't understand is there's guys that put a lot of time in it. And they're not just going out and just killing something for fun per se, because they could shoot any deer that walk by. Mm-hmm. But they're actually putting time and effort, and there's a lot that goes into it, and it is rewarding. And I don't know, they don't see that side of it, so they don't understand it.
Well, what they also don't understand is like what we are doing for their habitat. Like people put food plots in. People, feed them
Mhm.
corn, like where you're allowed to. People are like, oh, you're baiting them, and it's like, also at the same time, like, how many deer have I had walk into my corn pile that I don't shoot?
Yeah.
They're getting a free meal. Like, I'm
Yeah.
helping them get bigger, get strong, like
Yeah.
survive winter, because in the winter they do struggle a little bit to find the food when there's a bunch of snow and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So that's where people, and they don't understand that part of our money for our license and our tags
Mm-hmm.
goes to helping,
Yeah.
the habitats and all that kind of
Oh,
stuff. Like, everybody thinks it's just for the fun of killing an animal. When don't get me wrong, there is those people out there. They exist. I don't think I'd like to say it's few and far between. You're not gonna
Yeah.
like, I've never met someone that's just like, I just like to kill it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just in it just so I
Yeah.
can kill the animal. I've never talked to a hunter
Yeah,
that
there's nobody.
like, I've always talked to people who are like, and one of the coolest things too for me personally is like when you're in that stand in the morning when it's still dark, you hear the birds come to life, the squirrels, as annoying as they freaking are,
Yeah.
when you're hunting, and
Yeah.
just to watch like deer walk in, and it is one of the coolest. Me and my buddy were talking about it. Still to this day, I will have the tiniest yearling doe, a doe or 4-point buck that I know I'm not shooting. My heart always starts pounding, no
And it
matter
should.
what.
Yeah, and when it doesn't, I do think that when time goes on, I've been a little calmer.
Yeah,
But
I've definitely
after
been
I
calmer.
shoot one, it's like, oh man, it's game on. But yeah, them squirrels will screw you. As a matter of fact, the squirrels up in Maine, the red squirrels, they're crazy. I mean, they will literally climb on you. They'll eat the sack off a gray squirrel, but they're a little crazy up there.
I was telling Sierra actually got into hunting since
good.
I hunt. So
Yeah.
I actually ended up getting a new bow and had my old compound. She has it now and started shooting.
Yeah.
And she's like, I was telling her a story one time of like, I've about had squirrels get in a stand with me. Like,
wow.
I've been sitting there and they're climbing, and all of a sudden you have to kind of go, shoo, like,
Yeah,
get away.
out here. Yeah.
And she's like, what? Like, she's just kind of laughing, like, and then it like kind of having her, and it's all of a sudden like, oh yeah. When you sit still long enough and then you maybe move a little bit, they're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, it throws them off their A game a little bit. But, like I said, I like the outdoor things, the hunting. Every year we go to a thing called TAC in Pennsylvania. It's a archery shoot
Okay.
at Seven Springs, which is a ski resort, but they set up targets all throughout the mountain.
Yeah.
And you hike it and you shoot targets, and it's cool. I mean, majority of the targets range between 60 to 120 yards.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is like,
Yeah.
what kind of range are you shooting? See, like,
Um,
because I know Steve can shoot long range, and all these.
Yeah.
Some people I've talked to. For me, I mean, I only whitetail hunt in Ohio.
Yeah.
So like, I've only you got 20, 40 yards maybe max in Ohio.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm used to shooting. But I've always thought it'd be cool to kind of get to that point.
Yeah.
So like, what's the draw weight on your bow?
75 pounds.
Okay.
The first year I went out, I was very not prepared.
I feel like that is a common thing. With
Well,
everybody.
I just didn't want to put at the time the money in. I like you said, my bow worked for what I needed.
Yeah.
And then it's like I went and shot. It's not a competition. It's more of just for your self pleasure. But again, I'm like, well, I'm that guy that's I always gotta have a little more. So it's like I'm not coming back next year with the same bow. I got to do better. So, but that first year, I could only shoot. My sight would only go to like 83 yards,
Okay.
and I have since upgraded. And then now I shot a couple targets. One was at 123 yards and one was at 127.
Damn.
Are you realistically going to do that in real life? No.
Not very.
If I'm
you
elk
might get
hunting
a-
in
yeah.
Colorado and it's 80 yards, yes, I'm taking a shot. Now that might piss some people off, but that's your only one
Well,
chance.
that's what Cam Haynes does. That's
Yeah.
what people are like. But he also practice every single day.
Yeah, so I do now. Obviously
Yeah.
so this is coming up in May, the end of May, so I'll be getting out, getting at it. And it's fun. You hike, you're with your friends. Majority of the guys from Street Warriors go. It's kind of our little thing. And it really tests you because and they keep it super realistic. Like it's not like, oh, it's just a mowed path and here. They'll take you through the woods. They'll take you up the mountain. They want you to feel like you are chasing that big animal, and your heart's pumping and you're breathing heavy and you pull up and you shoot, and they do have a Sasquatch you can shoot. So that's a little different. But the crazy thing is, like they don't just set it out in the open. You know what I mean? They they might have a target. If there is one that's 30 yards, it's literally going to be a tree, a rock, and then a down tree, and you're shooting through a triangle that's less than a dinner plate at 30 yards down a steep hill, and it's like, okay. It's a little aggressive, but
hope I have my extra arrows.
Oh yeah, you go through arrows. If you don't think you're gonna go through arrows, you're crazy, because you do. But but then the long shots, they still don't. If it's 120 yards, it's gonna be out in the open.
Yeah.
But that's a poke. I mean, when you're looking through the sight on the bow, it's the same size as the target. You know what I mean?
It's tiny.
It's a good thing. But like I said, so there's that, and the backpacking. I like to do a lot of backpack hiking. Like I told you, I camped this weekend.
That's nuts.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
That's something my parents would do.
Yeah.
That is something my parents would do, and Sierra can vouch for that.
Well, I just kind of want to say I did it.
I mean, I'd be that way too.
I wasn't expecting. So when I texted, like my father-in-law came, my wife's grandpa. At the time, it was supposed to be 38 and sunny.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, because we tried some other times and it just didn't work earlier in the year. And I said, I'm putting it up this time, whatever happens. Storm rolls in. So now I'm at work. I'm like, man, I really don't want it. You don't want to set it up on top of snow. That's never good. So I put it up right as I put the last stake in, literally started snowing. Sent a picture to the little group chat, said, well, it's on now, boys. We ain't no turning back. Not knowing it was going to be like 25-mile-an-hour winds, 6 inches of snow, 7 degrees outside with the wind chill. But it worked out. We're here, so.
Yeah, I went to a concert on Friday, and like we were driving to the concert, and I'm like, are we going to make it to the concert? Because I was like, it got a little rough. But, yeah, But, hey, will you do me a favor? Take some on my camera. I just want to see how they turn out. Now I just completely lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you've hunted hog. What would you say was like your most this sounds like trophy hunting, but like your most memorable, thing that you've harvested?
The bear's pretty cool. I ended up getting a full mount.
Yeah,
so
don't blame you.
Yeah, so that was sweet, because that was at the time. It was like, that's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, right? That's not just, I do have buddies that they've gone multiple times. Just wasn't for me at the time, with the kids and, other things going on. But the problem with the bear hunt was I didn't get it until the last night. So, harvest the bear, load it up, take it back, skin it out, pack our stuff up, leave the next morning. So it wasn't like I really got to, take it all in because it all happened so fast. I would say that's probably the most rewarding so far because it is a big game animal. Yeah. The hog hunts were fun because of the group of guys I went with. And it was just a good group.
That's important too.
Yeah.
That's very important.
That part was, I would say out of all of it would be the bear hunt, other than it happened on the last night. I kind of wish I would have got it second, third day in and then just, enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But I did get the biggest bear in the camp that year.
Something to be proud of.
On average in North America, up in Maine, the black bears average between 150 to 200 pounds. There is bigger ones, but on average, I ended up shooting one that was over 300 pounds. From tail to nose was over 6 foot. So if he stood up, it was probably pushing 7.5 foot tall. So
looking
that was
over
pretty cool.
you, which has got it. That's what people also don't realize. Like, especially here in Ohio, like we don't realize how big these animals are. Like,
Oh.
It's just like an elk or a moose too. Like when you see them, it's like,
gosh, yeah. See, that's what dream hunt is, a moose.
Yeah.
That's like my grandfather shot a moose in 1969 out of a canoe going down the river. And a matter of fact, his buddy that he was with shot first and hit it in the horn. And you can still, I've got the horns at my house, and you can see
the hole.
Yeah, you can see the hole. So now it's in a full sprint, and my grandpa actually shot it at 100 yards.
Damn.
On a full sprint. And I don't know if he dropped it or not, but
back when technology and scopes and all that stuff was not as good as it is now.
At the time, it was the biggest moose recorded, and they actually, the little town that he was in, it was in Canada, they wrote a 5-page article about him shooting that moose, and my wife actually ended up getting it printed and framed.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So that's kind of my dream hunt, is to go
Mm-hmm.
on a moose hunt, but it just hasn't happened. It's kind of hard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can go to Alaska and do it. If you want to do like Maine, you got to put in for a lottery.
Yeah.
And, it's
You might be waiting your whole life for that.
there's guys that's been waiting over
Yeah.
15 years. They have changed it. They do it by like a point system now, and eventually
Okay,
when you get so
yeah.
many points, you kind of just get it. So that's cool.
Yeah,
But,
I've
yeah.
always wanted to go to Alaska, not even
Oh
just
my
to hunt,
gosh,
but
yeah.
just to go.
Yeah.
Like that's probably that or like Montana, Wyoming out that way is probably like my dream. Where like
Yeah.
I will go to one of these places
We're
before I
going.
die.
We're going to attempt to go to South Dakota this year, just for a trip. That's
Okay.
where the Badlands is.
Mm-hmm.
Mount Rushmore. The typical.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see the Badlands. I'm that guy too. Like I said, we like to go camping. My previous truck I had, I built it into essentially a camper.
Yeah.
So my wife and I have gone to Tennessee and camped out of it. We've gone other places. Fortunately, our family is really good with, helping us out with the boys so we can go do stuff like that. And people might make fun of us for it or say, oh, that's not being very good parents. But
You need those.
you got to put, you got to go. You got to do
Yeah.
it, to make things work.
I mean, I can't tell you how many people I hear say, like, I get it, but at the same time, like, you deserve a vacation without kids.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
listen,
okay.
I deal with you 24/7.
It's
I deserve
okay.
some time away from you.
Well, like Steve said, I listened to that podcast, and it is okay to miss that game every now and then. Should you be at the majority of them? Yeah, but sometimes things happen. You
You
can't
gotta be realistic.
control. Yeah. That's exactly it.
Yeah, I agree. That was one of the things. Actually, a lot of people have mentioned to me about what he said about that, and it's like kind of makes me feel a little bit okay. Like it's like he said too. I think it's different if you're just sitting home on the couch.
Yeah.
But if you're out working or
Yep.
on a vacation with buddies, whatever,
Yeah.
doing things, that's okay. Like
Yeah.
you're allowed to miss it
Mhm.
every so often,
Yeah.
especially when they're young. Especially when they're young.
Yeah, I don't. This is where like I guess I get carried away. Is I want to go. I want to go do these things. I don't.
Mhm.
Like this year we're going to go to South Dakota with the kids, and I'm taking a tent. We have a camper. It ain't going. People are like, what the hell? But I don't want to wait until I retire to go do that
Mhm.
stuff. I want to go do. I'm still able-bodied to get out and hike and look at things and have fun. And,
Yeah.
I'll drag my kids along. And either they're going to like it or they're going to hate it. And there's things that we all did and didn't like growing up.
Yeah.
But that's what it was, and that's what it is, and they're just going to have to get over it.
Exactly. But you playing volleyball again this year?
Oh yeah. Actually,
I might. I don't know. I don't know if I'm playing on Wednesdays as of right now. So, you know how they added the Tuesday league?
Yeah, which
The
is the
fours.
four. Yeah,
So she wants to play fours, so we'll be playing fours,
I get it.
and we're playing Thursdays. And she won't play Wednesdays, and her sister won't play Wednesdays because we're playing already on Tuesday and Thursday. And I'm like,
Right.
well, we live 2 minutes from Newark Station, so I'll play Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because my buddy wants to play again. So, but right
Yeah.
now we only have like 3 people, so 4
Yeah.
people. But it's like trying to find a couple other people, and nobody wants to play. So
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm gonna make sure. I mainly because I want my buddies to play.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
It's cool because they just came and started playing last
Yeah.
year, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Dude, this is awesome." And I'm like,
yeah.
"Yeah, you get." And well,
It's
I'll talk
fun.
about some of the other stuff after, but
Jacob, he's got a good thing going there.
Yeah.
We actually, so we're going to play Mondays and Wednesdays.
okay.
Because, let's see, I don't want to piss anybody off.
No, I get it.
The one group is fun. Let's go have fun. Myself and my buddy Eric were a little more competitive, so we wanted just a little more competitive team. And I'm not taking away from the Eric team because we did great. I mean, I think we were above 500. So it was fun.
Trust me, we all know the teams. Which like gotta love Beth. Everybody loves Beth.
Yeah.
But when you play her team,
yeah,
you always know
you're gonna win.
You gotta win.
You're gonna win. So we're still got the original team, and it's fun. We have a great time. That's a whole good group of people. And then we are a little more competitive. So we had team we put. So I put a team together for your thing, which was freaking awesome.
Doing it again this year.
I know. Well, I'll be there.
Already working on a lot of the details. So.
Is it still in July?
Yeah, it'll be the same weekend. So I think this
Like
year
the
it's like the 13th.
Yeah, I think I already put it in my calendar.
Yeah.
So, my buddy Eric, he played. So we obviously did good. We won the loser bracket.
Yeah.
But we walked out.
Which out of 12 teams, so you were essentially at least the 7th best team. Like you were.
Yeah.
That sounds bad, but like at the same time, like you could have probably beat some of those other teams. That's what's weird. It sucks kind of with pool play because you could get put in a pool with really good teams, or you could get put in a pool with bad teams, or a mix of like you don't know what you're gonna get. This year, I think what I'm gonna do. I was already thinking about this, just so like I mean it was completely random last year too, but this year I'm literally gonna have a hat with
just pick names,
pool names, and you're gonna pull it out. Like the captain's gonna come up and there's your pool. Like nobody can complain, nobody can say anything.
Exactly.
It was completely random.
I'm not complaining about because when everybody that played that day, we never played together besides my buddy Eric. So it's like, hey, to do that good, that's awesome, right? And we're majority of us are first year players this past year. And it, worked out and came to developed a little bit of a passion for volleyball.
I'm actually playing right now, too.
Are you where?
So there's this place, it's like Columbus, it's like 45 minutes away, Woodland's backyard.
Okay, I've seen it.
They have a dome.
Yes.
That they have their outdoor courts, and then they get a dome that they put over.
Yes.
But the only thing I don't like about it is it's more expensive than a session at Newark Station, and you only play one game.
Oh.
And it's at 8:15 on a Sunday. Which they have leagues all day long, but that's just the one we play in is the 8:15. Reno, he actually was the one that asked me to play on their team. So,
yeah, he's a good guy to have on your team. He's got a wingspan like a Boeing 757.
Oh my god! And those nets are shorter there than at Newark Station.
Now,
so like
I heard
his head's already at like the top of the net.
Yeah, Jacob likes to have them a little tall.
I know. I like it.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Because I'll be honest. Everybody can hit in this league.
Well, I'm here to tell you, your event you had, there was one guy that had the mullet, like the really nice mullet. He was jump serving.
I don't know. I don't know if I knew of, like, they went to Valley, I'm pretty sure. I didn't know them personally, but they knew, like, Sierra and stuff.
That guy was good.
Yeah.
He could spike like crazy. I think they almost ended up winning it.
Was it on Sierra's team? Do you remember?
No, I don't think so.
So Sierra's team was in the championship, and then Ray and the gang actually ended up winning it.
Yeah.
Which it was funny because I guess it was Ray's birthday, and they were like buddies with Dante, who's on the hit and stuff. And he was like, "Yeah, I just like randomly hit him up because I saw that he was playing volleyball and told him about it." And then I was like, "Well, you didn't have to invite the winners, asshole."
Right? No kidding. Well, they took it. Yeah, yeah. That's all I remember from that guy was his mullet and like jumping and then glistening in the sun. Because I don't care what any man says, you notice a good mullet, a good beard, and a good mustache.
Exactly.
Everyone.
100%. Oh, I can't tell you how many people, when I was growing out my mullet, I'd be like, damn, I'm jealous of that.
Yeah.
That looks good.
Yeah, the mullet day ain't happening for this guy, but
she won't let me get it back. I want it back, but she won't let me do it. The problem was, I was like, when we first met, I had long hair.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't long, but it was like, it was down
just
out
a
of
nice
my
flow.
hat.
A nice flow.
And she's like, yeah, but then you cut your hair, and I saw you looked like that, so you're never having long hair again. She actually cut my last mullet.
Oh, when you're sleeping?
No, she like gave me a mullet.
Oh,
I had
nice.
just long. I was growing out my hair.
See?
And we were drinking over at my sister's one night, and she was like, we were just like, because my brother-in-law was like, when are you going to cut your hair? And I was like, I'm going to do a mullet, I think, like one more time at least.
Yeah.
And Sierra's like, let me do it right now. And I was like, I've had enough beers. So I was like, all right.
Sure.
So there's still pictures. Sierra actually just got the memories the other day of me sitting in the middle of the kitchen.
Yes.
And and there's a picture of Sierra's face going like this because my brother-in-law is like cutting the top, and he's like, oh no, you're going full Billy Ray, buddy.
Yes.
And it was actually one of my better mullets compared to the other one. I've had a couple other ones, but that was one of my better ones.
Like a young Alan Jackson.
Yes. And I always wore a hat, but I came to work and Steve was like, you got a mullet again. And I was like, yep.
Yeah,
He's
boy.
like, oh, God.
Making the company look great. Yeah, man shows up in a sleeveless flannel and a mullet. He's there to work.
I always gave Steve crap, though, because he always gave me crap for my long hair. And I was like, I just want to say, when I met you, you had long hair. Like,
exactly.
real long hair. You didn't
Yeah.
have long, like, you had long hair.
Yeah, and I've known Steve for a hot minute. I mean, we worked together back in the day at the co-op. So yeah, I've known him for a while.
I told him because his old license picture is still his long hair, and I was like, you look like it looks like a what you call it, mugshot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's like, yeah, whatever.
Whatever. but yeah, definitely doing the volleyball. I'm counting down the days because it starts in May, I think.
Yeah, the league starts in May, so yeah, I'm excited for it.
And definitely looking forward to your event, which is gonna be
got some
sweet.
changes coming. Nothing like too crazy, but just some like additions and some things that learning experience from last year being the first one, which Jacob said it went well. So.
Yeah, I thought it went great. I have no complaints. Like I think I told you in a text, just maybe a little earlier in the day. I don't know.
Yeah, that was actually a common one that a few people said, so we are going to move it up. I think we started at 3.
Maybe not as much rain this time.
All right, you're the third person now. There was a couple people that were like, my only complaint, can you not make it rain? And I was like,
yeah.
I was so mad because I finished like talking, and all of a sudden it was just like whoosh, and I was like, crap.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was actually kind of cool.
But then the sun came out later, so that was what was nice.
It's cool until you go to hit the ball and there's sand on it, and then you get in your eyes. It gets
stuck to the that's the only crappy part.
No, that was actually kind of fun. And then it could have been, the opposite. It could have been 100 degrees because it's in July. Yeah. So, no, I would take the rain over 100.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll be having that again. Be on the lookout for that, actually. That was one of my announcements today, was be on the lookout for that, some announcements with that. I'll actually probably be putting some polls on Instagram and stuff of what people think about some things, so we'll be throwing some things out there. But Trent, you already kind of answered the 16-year-old question. I mean, do you want to go for it?
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I guess I could say about that, going back, because it's what you tell your 16. If you could tell yourself something, Jake actually Sanders. Yeah. He alluded to a little bit about with like the whole friends thing, but. Probably have a little more patience. Things will work out. To his point, what the friends you have in high school will not be the friends you have. Now, with that being said, there is a handful of my buddies that I had in high school that I guarantee I could call tomorrow and we would pick up like we never left each other. Yeah. But there's only about 3 of them.
Yeah.
They say that you actually make new friends almost like every 7 years. So I don't know if you've ever heard that or not, but and then you start thinking about it, and you're just like, well, shoot, that's
it does make sense.
So chase that dream at a young age, and don't have if you want to move away, if you want to go to another state, if that was one of the things. Like a lot of kids didn't go to a certain college because they didn't want to leave their buddies. Dude, go. If they are your friend, they'll be your friend.
Didn't want to leave their girlfriend.
Didn't want to leave their girlfriend, which that doesn't work out.
Trust me, you want to leave.
Yeah. Other than that, just like I said, I tell myself to have a little more patience. Keep pushing. It'll work out. But
it'll all work out for the best. Like the ones that do disappear, probably for the best.
Yeah. Yeah. If they're not your friend, you'll know.
Yeah.
I think Steve talked about that a little bit. Yeah, that Jake, I like when you guys talk about the patio. I'm like, man, I kind of want to come back for that one. Smoke a little cigar, have a little bourbon.
I got them right here, the Crowned Head cigars that he gave me.
Look
so
at that bad boy.
We'll be definitely. I'll get you back on for a drinking episode, a little patio action.
Yeah, hopefully.
Trust me, anytime in the summer, like even a guest episode, I'm like, you okay with doing it on the patio? Because I'd rather be outside.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd definitely.
I'll start a fire out in the fire pit and just have all the tiki torches, and it's just a cool experience sometimes. But Dante always gives me crap. It's like, I feel like I'm walking into Survivor and I'm about to get voted off the island.
Well, smoke the cigar faster and you won't.
But Trent, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Thank you.
I'll definitely be putting all the stuff for Street Warriors in the links or in the description. You guys have social. I know you guys have Facebook.
Yeah, we have Facebook, Instagram. I'm not the tech guy in the group. More of the I'll go out and talk to people. Ben, he's more of the tech guy. Derek, he's up on that. We do have other people that help out, and they do a great job. Or if people just know somebody, refer some people, that would be great. Like I said, we're really trying to get to take off. It's a good thing.
Exactly.
And thanks, man. I do appreciate it, brother.
Heck yeah, man.
I'm excited. Hopefully, I
didn't
ramble too much.
No, we'll get you back on for sure.
Yeah, so.
We'll do a little patio episode.
Yeah.
I'll put you down for one of the ones in the summer.
Heck yeah, brother. Appreciate it.
Yep, not a problem. But one more announcement. Don't forget, Q&A Friday questions. Send them over to roughneckspodcast@gmail.com and or on Instagram. Just message us or comment on a post, whatever you desire. If you send in a question for Q&A Friday, you are automatically entered into a drawing to win some free Roughnecks merch. So send them over ASAP. These questions can be, what is your favorite color? Please don't ask that one. We've already answered it too many times. But they can be simple. They can be complex. Make it as crazy or as simple as you want. Doesn't matter until Friday. Someday. Sometime later this week. You guys know the deal. Life is hard, and it's going to knock you down just like a bull does to a bull rider. Don't let that bull of life walk all over you. Get up, grab the bull by the horns, and take control of your life. Roughnecks, out.